Yeah.
Hey Daniel, good morning or good afternoon. See, my days are all messed up, guys. Hey, is that Yana? I just see a forehead. Yeah. Hey, Yana. Oh, Mr. Kid sitting in the back of my classroom. He said that you're on time to my class, but not his class. You know what? My husband always said he's an equal opportunity harasser. Doesn't matter who you are, what stage of life you're in, he'll harass you. And Yana, you're getting that firsthand. I have everybody muted, so just so you know, if you're trying to talk to me, let me go ahead and just take it down. Alright, so let's see, Yana. Hey, Denisha. Hey, John. Hey, James. And I see Jared's head in the background. There's all of Jared. Hey, Jared. Hey, Janice. How are you? Hey, Diana. Like I just mentioned, Daniel, I wished him a good morning. My days and it's all messed. I don't know what day of the week I'm on half the time. So, if you guys think, I tell you, it's, I have to keep reminding myself what day of the week it is. And now they keep talking more about extending things, and I don't know, by the time I'm going to be completely gray by the time we're all out of this. I was telling Daniel earlier, I may have to visit his mom to help me with this intense gray that's coming out. Hey, Abby. Well, I saw Abby. Hey. Have you taken that sweatshirt off since you've been at Sarah's house? Because it seems like I've seen you wear that every day. Let me unmute Abby just for a second. Abby. Sweetie, I can't hear you very much. Okay, all right, I'm going to mute you back. All right, let's see. We're still, let's see, we're still waiting on some people to come in. Give about another minute, then we'll go from there. I've seen some things people posted all over like Facebook and stuff about giving people tours of their houses while they're on these Zoom classrooms. Hopefully my house is clean in the background of when Jed and Abby and Sam are getting on. Can't guarantee that. Hey Elizabeth, I see the top of Elizabeth's head and I see her. Hey, how's it going? All right, Andrew. Hey Andrew. All right, it is 2:02. We'll give it one more minute. We're at 11. We're missing Matt, 12. Who else am I missing? Let's see what I'm missing. That's it, it's Matt. Okay, well, you know what? I get confused also with how many people I'm expecting. Okay, we'll just wait. Matt will jump on when he gets there. Okay, let me go ahead and pray. I want to continue with our verse, how we're going to get through this life that we know that's going to be history one day, and then we'll get into finishing up. We're going to finish up the United States today. So let's pray. Dear God, thank you for today, Lord. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for your gracious spirit, Lord. Thank you for your mercy that you show us every day. Lord, I pray you'll just continue to work mightily in our country. I pray you will be with President Trump. You'll be with the team of leaders he's assembled to combat all of the issues that we're dealing with. I pray you'll be with the doctors and the nurses and the healthcare workers, even down to the custodians in the different hospitals and clinics, Lord. They play a significant role too as far as getting everything sterilized and clean, and they're just as much at risk as anybody else is to get the virus, Lord. I pray you'll be with them, Lord, be with their families. Lord, I know it's a very trying time. I can only imagine some of the distance that the families have to keep from one another just to stay safe, Lord. And I pray that you will allow this to be over soon. Lord, we don't know why you're allowing this in our country and across our world, but I pray you'll just heal our land physically, Lord. I pray that we will look to you, that we will not rely on ourselves, Lord. We can obviously see that's gotten us pretty much nowhere, Lord, but I pray that we look to you and for your wisdom to make the right decisions. I pray that we will heed the different recommendations and warnings that are given there as far as staying healthy and staying apart from one another. Lord, just thank you for your Son. Thank you for the hope we have in your Son, Jesus Christ, Lord, that while the worst day we have here, it, is by far not even compare to what we're going to have one day in eternity, Lord. I pray you'll just help us get through daily what we're dealing with. In your Son's name I pray. Amen. Okay, real quick, I want to talk about this verse again. Can you all see my board? It says Jeremiah 33:3, and the word I have next is and. And you may think, well, Mrs. Kidd, why are we talking about the word and? And is an insignificant word, so to speak, in English language. In fact, if you were to write a title or do anything with that word in it, in an English paper or an English essay, you wouldn't even capitalize the word and. It's not even important enough to capitalize it, but it's very significant. It basically takes two different thoughts that are often not even connected to one another, and it connects them. And that's what we're going to see here in this verse. Again, like I've said the last couple of days, we have got to figure out how we're going to live through this history in the making, so to speak. One day, whether it's going to be you or whether it's going to be your children, definitely your grandchildren, if the Lord tarries and we're left here, the rapture doesn't happen, we are going to be reading about the winter and the spring of 2020 in our history books. Just like we're reading about 9/11, just like we read about the Civil War, just like we read about the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. At some point, what we're dealing with will be history. Our world will be changed forever because of that. But in order to get to the point where we're reading about it, we have to actually live through it. Just like those of us that lived through 9/11, that experienced 9/11, we had to find a way of living through that, knowing that one day it would be history. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to give us some hope. And I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase preaching to the choir. Pastors use that a lot. I am preaching to the choir, meaning I may be encouraging you, but guys, I need this encouragement as much myself too. So Jeremiah 33:3, let me read that verse again. It says, call unto me, and I will answer thee and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. So the word and here, we talked yesterday and the day before about calling unto God the Father, calling unto the person who created everything, calling into the one who knows every hair on top of our head, numbers our hairs. I know when I go to brush my hair in the morning, Mr. Kidd is constantly getting on me because I leave hair all over the bathroom sink. And God knows that. When I lose a hair or hairs, or I'm cleaning out my hairbrush, God knows that. He knows that my number of hairs now is less. So someone who knows that, we can put our faith and trust to know that they have it under control. So the word and here, and signifies that there's something else coming. And we know because we've read the end of the verse, we know what that something else, the promise that's on the other side of that word and. But let me give you a couple thoughts, 2 verses about God's promises, because we know God's giving us a promise in this verse. The first verse is 2 Peter 3:9. It says, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, meaning the Lord takes his promises seriously. I can promise Abby something. Abby, I promise you I will take you to the mall and buy you a new outfit when the mall's open up. I can say all that I want. Abby is, it's up to Abby to determine whether I'm worthy of that promise. Sometimes I am. And if I were to unmute Abby right now, Abby would probably say, Mom, sometimes you're not. That's just the way, unfortunately, human beings are. But God says he's not slack concerning his promise. He doesn't make promises lightly. If God promises something, we can count on it that he's going to follow through with whatever he's promised. Now look at Deuteronomy 7:9. It says, the Bible says, know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Covenant here meaning his promises. It says, know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God who keepeth his covenant, keepeth his promises. God, the Bible doesn't lie. God does not lie. God cannot lie. I'm sure you've learned that in a Bible class multiple times throughout your career in Christian school or even in churches. God does not lie. If he promises something, then he's going to follow through. And that's what's so cool about this verse. God tells us if we call unto him, call unto the one who has it all under control. And that word, that little bitty word and that we wouldn't normally capitalize, and meaning, and now we need to see what God's going to do. What God promises he will do if we do our part. So we're going to leave it there. We're going to talk about what that promise is. It's so cool that right now, we've read that verse several times. Bible talks about great and mighty things, what God's going to show us. That's the promise. Guys, we don't know what great and mighty things are going to come out of this. Right now, all we're seeing is gloom and doom that's coming out of this. But we know that that little word and tells us something good is coming. So, all right, open up your books, please, to page 217. 217. We're going to finish up our study of the United States of America. I have a video to show you. Hopefully it'll come through okay. We're going to, since we can't travel very much right now, if at all, except maybe to the grocery store and back, or maybe to your living room and back, or your dining room and back, we're going to go kind of the top, I think it's the top 10 tourist spots in the United States. We're going to take a trip around the country, so to speak, at the end of this class period. I want to reiterate a couple of things before we get too far into it. Your homework that's due on Friday. You have your current event that's due, and then you also have your questions that are due. And I don't have it here in front of me. I think it's page 219, questions 1 through 7, and there's 2 identified terms you need to identify. Those of you that have already turned it in, I've already uploaded your grade for that. The rest of you, please make sure you're uploading it. You have until the end of the school day tomorrow, which is at pretty much the end of this class period tomorrow to upload those things. Let me give you, I'll tell you one other homework that will be due next week when we get ready to start the video. I'll explain that in a minute. And then real quick, we sent home via email and also via text some information about picking up materials that were still here at school. Mrs. Maloney should have called or texted you if you still have stuff here that was in your locker, whether it's textbooks or just stuff. There's a lot of stuff left in your all's locker. So what we've done is we bagged it up for you. We're going to be here at school on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for you to come by and get everything else that's in your locker. We kind of held off giving you everything except your textbooks because we weren't sure if you're going to be back in school or not. At this point, we still don't know. We don't know if Governor Wolf's going to open the schools back up, but we wanted to go ahead and get your things to you. There's a notebook paper, there's binders, there's protractors, there's rulers, some clothing, things like that. We want to make sure we get that to you so you can at least have that. Those of you that have pictures that are on the inside of your lockers, we're doing our best to carefully take those off for you, to preserve those for you so we don't damage those. So just talk to your moms and dads, talk to your parents. If you need to come by school again, we'll be here from 10 to 2. You won't be allowed in the school. We'll have everything bagged for you and we'll get it for you and bring it to you, but we want to make sure you have that stuff. Okay, page 217. We're finishing up our study on North America. We spent some time yesterday talking about the different resources and industries. We talked about the agricultural industry, talked about the mining industry, we talked about the manufacturing industry, talked about the fast food industry. You can't talk about United States of America without talking about fast food. And I had my dose of fast food today. I had to have my Diet Coke. I did not have enough caffeine yesterday, so I woke up with a significant headache this morning. Fortunately, it was enough. The caffeine was enough to do it for me. So anyway, fast food tastes so much better now that I can't have anything else to eat except my own cookies. So I'm enjoying fast food at this point. All right, but let's talk about on page 217. We're going to wrap up talking about transportation and communication and then end up talking about tourism. Again, I mentioned yesterday, the United States has a whole host of these things attached to them. A lot of times when we study different nations that we have studied, they might be known for maybe their mining industry or tourism industry, or maybe they manufacture one product. But the United States is a blessed nation in the sense that we have a plethora. And plethora is one of those big words. I only know that because I had to learn it for my SAT test when I was going into college. So I've retained. So it is important. Those big words are important to know sometimes. So a plethora, meaning a variety of resources, a variety of industries that keep us afloat. That's why we have one of the world's strongest economies, because we're so diverse. We don't rely solely on one industry over the other. If you look at what we're going through now with this coronavirus and all these stay-at-home orders and all the shutdowns and the furloughs we're having, our economy is suffering. Our economy is taking a hit. And there's a lot of people that work in different industries that are unfortunately struggling right now. But we still have so much more. You know, we may have the retail industry that for the most part is shutting down as far as you can't go to the mall, you can't go to stores, but our online retail business is still up and going. We can have like our food industry. We can't go out to eat anymore as far as in restaurants, things like that, but we're still able to have the drive-thrus open. We're still able to have takeout open. We're still able to have delivery options open. So even in these trying times and these challenging times we have, because our economy is so diverse, we have a little bit more opportunity to still rebound from this and be flexible than say some other countries that rely solely on, let's say, tourism. If the United States relied solely on tourism, and we rely heavily on that, don't get me wrong, but if we relied solely on tourism, I remember with right after 9/11, the Washington, D.C. area, tourism is a huge, huge economic boost for the Washington, D.C. area. And it's not to say that's the only thing they have going for it. Of course, you have the federal government, all of that. But between the tourism and then, of course, the hotel industry that's kind of piggybacks on the tourism industry. When 9/11 happened and nobody wanted to come to Washington, D.C., nobody felt secure at all in our nation's capital. And a lot of things were closed. We didn't know if we were going to get attacked again. We were trying to put a lot of, I'm talking we like I was in charge. We, meaning the area, trying to put a lot more security measures in. I remember the Washington Monument now has, you probably don't know any different if you've been to the Washington Monument, but there's stone barriers now that surround the entrance to the monument. That wasn't there before 9/11. All the security surrounding the White House wasn't there before 9/11. There was security, but not to the degree it was now. And tourism took a huge hit right after 9/11. The hotel industry suffered right after 9/11. If nobody's coming to visit the monuments and the Smithsonian and the Capitol and the White House, then nobody's coming to stay in the hotels either. So if we were solely a country based on one industry, we would suffer. And during this time, fortunately, we are a protected country because we don't have to rely solely on one industry for our well-being. But let's finish up. Let's talk about the transportation and communication industry. We know that transportation is synonymous. I mean, how many people you think about it? I did some statistics as far as the automobile industry, for example. These were statistics back from 2017, so they're about 3 years old, which means the statistics will only be greater than they are now. It says in 2017, 6.2 million new cars were sold. That's not used cars. That's not brand new cars. 6.2 million brand new cars were sold in that year alone, and 11.1 million SUV and light trucks were sold. So you're talking, over 17 million brand new vehicles were sold. So the automobile industry in America is thriving and is still thriving. The parts industry, the secondary parts industry, think about the automobile industry just isn't in car sales, it's manufacturing, it's part sales, things like that. The parts export market was worth over $80 billion just in 2017. Of course, it's greater at this point. Today, the automobile industry is worth over $2 trillion. Go on your chat, guys, and I'm going to ask you a question. See if you can tell me, what do you think, or who do you think is the leading car manufacturer in the world? What car brand and what country is it? Let me see. Andrew says Ford. No, Ford actually is fifth on the list. So Ford is fifth on the list. Who knows what the number one automobile maker is? Audi. Daniel says Audi. Nope, Audi's not on my list at all. It's probably way, way down there, but it's not. I've got my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and it's not on my top 7. Andrew chimed back in with Toyota. Correct, Andrew. The answer is Toyota. Who makes Toyota cars? What country? Can't hear me. I can't hear you. So chat it. Japan. Excellent. John said Japan. Andrew said Japan. Daniel said Japan. Japan it is by process. Yes. So Toyota. The second one. Tell me who you think the second car manufacturer is. And I'll tell you now, it's not American. We still haven't gotten to American-made cars yet. Who has it? Abby, you should know this one. Chime in, Abby. What do you think it is? I'm not seeing anything. Anybody have anything? Honda? Nope, not Honda. Honda's actually seventh on my list. Not Honda. Volkswagen. John is correct. The reason I said Abby should know is because we actually own a Volkswagen. Yes. Vote Ferrari. No, Ferrari's way down the list, Daniel. It'd be nice that it would be higher up, but us poor people can't afford the Ferraris. We can do the Fords and the Hondas of the world. But anyway, so yes, so Toyota, it's German-based. Then you have Hyundai or Hyundai, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That's from South Korea. Then we have the first American-made car manufacturer, General Motors, U.S.-made. Then you have Ford after that, which is U.S.-made. And then you have Nissan and Honda, which are Japanese. So the automobile industry is huge, huge, huge for America. We're not the top one. In fact, it's interesting. China is the leading car industry. Where did I put my notes here? China is actually the leading car manufacturing country in the world, but we rarely, if at all, see any Chinese-made vehicles outside of China because of their massive amounts of people. They have a base, a solid base within their own country. So that's interesting. So we are not, United States in the global market is not number one. We're behind China, but we are, if you take out China, we then will become the leading automobile manufacturer, taking everything in consideration in the world. There are, let's see, anyone, I don't think anyone has their license. Raise your hand if anyone has their license. Permits, who's got their permits? Anybody, you guys still too young for that? Probably still too young. 220 million licensed drivers were in 2017. That's quite a lot. And then 69% of our country has their driver's license. Driver's license is kind of like that rite of passage. I don't know if it's really big up here. I don't know if it's as much. I guess it's still big. I remember when I was a kid in school, I say that back in the day, Yana, when I was younger, we were allowed to get our learner's permit. I think at 15 and 8 months we could get our learner's permit, and then right at 16 we could get our driver's license. Everybody wanted to get their driver's license right at 16. Now I'm not sure what it is. I know our family doesn't follow that too much. We've had so many new drivers, and it takes such a huge hit to your auto insurance bill that we drag our heels a lot. Just ask Sam and Chloe how much we drag our heels for that. But 69% of the country has a driver's license, which means there is quite a lot of, transportation options out there. Obviously, it's not just transportation as far as cars. You have mass rail transit. You have, things like that. You have the airline industry. The United States is known for its airline industry. I remember when 9/11 happened and they shut all the airspace down for a period of time. So we didn't know we were being attacked by through the air, so to speak. And we didn't know if it was friendly airplanes in the sky or not. And I remember it was the weirdest thing when there was no flights above your head. And we lived in Washington, D.C. area where you constantly had, we lived between two major international airports. And there was constant flights, constant air traffic above your head. And then for a period of time, there was nothing. And I know, airlines right now are being significantly affected, the airline industry. I know when my daughter was leaving Pensacola, Florida to come, she's with her grandparents now. When Pensacola shut down their school, she flew out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, into Raleigh, North Carolina, and there was only about 30 people on her flight, which normally would have been a flight that would have been, over 200 people on her flight. And then when my daughter Leah flew just last week from Colorado into Philadelphia, there were about 15 people on her flight. So the airline industry is taking a huge hit during this time. Nobody wants to fly. You can fly places, but there's nothing to do when you get there. Of course, international travel is being hugely affected. I was reading a report just not too long ago that we're even going to see when all this coronavirus is over and done with, we're going to see a whole new airline industry picture, so to speak. Things will be different based on that. But nonetheless, I mean, we are a stable economy because of our modes of transportation, what we have available, because of our the airline industry. Turn over to page 218. I want to talk about the tourism part real quick. Tourism part. I'm going to read a little bit. It says 218, America's wide variety of climate, scenery, and vacation attractions and its well-developed transportation system make tourism a profitable industry. It's huge. It doesn't matter what state you go to. There is something that's going to attract you tourist-wise. You think about just where we live right now in Pennsylvania. You have Philadelphia. You have Lancaster, that's about an hour and a half, about 45 minutes or so away from here. You have Harrisburg. You have Gettysburg. You have a host of Civil War battle places up here. You have the Pocono Mountains. You know, New York City's, about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive north of here. You have the shore. You have all of Atlantic City. You have the boardwalks. So even where we live, we are just huge when it comes to tourism. And no matter where you go, there's always some type of tourist spot that will attract you, that's worth going to. I mean, it's really cool to live in a place, to live in the United States of America, where you don't ever have to fly internationally to visit cool places. I mean, I personally, and we talked about this in class, I don't really like to travel very much. I don't like long plane rides, and I don't really want to travel internationally because there's so much within the United States I haven't seen, I haven't experienced myself. And we're going to, again, the video I'm going to show in a little bit, we'll kind of take us through some of the top 10 tourist spots. But before we do that, let's look real quick in this little inset where it says America's National Parks. National parks, we sometimes take that for granted. It's really cool in America. We have parks. Sorry if I'm putting my hair down. I noticed yesterday when I went back and looked at my YouTube videos, I had a piece of hair halfway through the day that just stuck way out. So I'm constantly trying to make sure I'm not humiliating myself on live stream. America's National Parks. We have, God's given us a beautiful, beautiful land, beautiful country here in America. And there's national parks that have been set aside to preserve that. They can't be developed, so to speak. National parks were created as an in-use. They're in use now for conservation purposes. We can't go to the Grand Canyon, the national park out in the Grand Canyon, and start building condos and malls and townhouses. Just not allowed to. And that's what keeps our country beautiful. That's what makes our country great. That's what keeps tourism alive. Just think if we took all these beautiful national parks or all this beautiful country and started building concrete jungles, so to speak, or making concrete jungles out of them, then all of a sudden our tourism, yeah, we'd still have the bigger places, the Washington, D.C.s, the Philadelphias, the New York, the Manhattan, L.A., things like that, but we would lose the beauty of what the United States is known for. I did some research on the national parks. We used to have friends long, long time ago. Now it does cost a lot, not a lot, but you do have to pay park fees to get into these national parks. It's not free. There's certain days that they're free to get into. We used to have a friend that only took his children to national parks because it was a lot cheaper than going other places. So they used to visit, I think they visited, I don't know if they visited all the national parks, but a lot of them for that. But the most visited national park is the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. I've been there. The Grand Canyon is one of the largest national parks. Yellowstone, we all kind of know Yellowstone. What the significance of that. It's interesting, Alaska is home to 7 of the 10 largest national parks just in that state alone. California has the most national parks. So our states are just full of all this. Like I said, there's 5 different days you can get in free to national parks. One of them being Martin Luther King Day. I don't know why. The rest of them aren't significant national holidays, but Martin Luther King Day you can get in free to all the national parks. Veterans Day you can get in free. Then also on the Park Service birthday, which happens to be August 25th. We should remember that. You can get in free to any national park across the country. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on a video real quick so we can see it. It's about, let's see, we have time for a 10-minute video. You know what? I'm going to hold off. I'm going to show that video tomorrow as we wrap up everything because I want you to have a chance to look at it. We're going to do a homework assignment based on it, so I don't want to cut it short. So we will run through that video tomorrow, so we can have a chance. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll wrap everything up. So I'm going to get off in just a second. Does anyone have any questions for me about the homework that's due tomorrow? Any questions? Okay, as a reminder, you have your, what's it called, current event due tomorrow. You have the questions due tomorrow. They do not have to be in complete sentences. Daniel, I had a question about what you uploaded. So when people start getting off, I'm going to unmute you and have a question about your stuff. Does anyone have any questions? Nothing? Okay, I am going to, you can start getting off. I'm in the meeting in a moment, but Daniel, I'm going to unmute you and ask you a question. Daniel, can you hear me? Okay, your current event that you uploaded and your, whatever else you uploaded, the questions you uploaded, they came across as an HEIC file, and my computer can't upload that for whatever reason. Are you able to resend them like either in a scanned file or a PDF or a JPEG or something? Can you try again? Because I know whenever you sent your Spanish test in, we could read. So whatever form that was in, that would work. Okay, so just those two resend them. I put in the comment section, I couldn't read them. So if you go in, you'll see those comments. So if you could just try to send it under a different file name, I appreciate it. Okay, all right, guys, I am going to end the meeting. We will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. Oh, John, you had a question? The yearbook stuff, that's a good question. We are working on, we're going to have to finish it. It'll probably be a lot of Sam and Darcy as yearbook editors working on it. We will have a yearbook. We'll still be working towards that. We'll be contacting you individually what you need to do. If there's anything else you need to do on your pages, we may just, what they'll have to do is take what we've done and refine some things. So we'll be in touch and let you guys know what you have to do as far as the yearbook stuff, okay? I'm sorry, go ahead. I saw the Spanish paper, yes. And Mr. Yeah, I think he already graded it and the grade was put in. All right. Sounds good. All right. Hey, Elizabeth, let me unmute you.